Hiya, I'm Luna, and I don't know about you, but there are some things about some Pokemon maps that really bug me for some reason. And one of those is why Snowpoint City, just everything north of it is just cut off. I mean, there's not a crazy amount left on there. It's not like they cut off a small bit from the other portions, because on the bottom, yeah, they cut off a big portion, but that's underpopulated. They cut off the way to Hakodate in terms of real Hokkaido, but that was a big portion that would make this map all jumbled. But at the same time, I mean, it's fine to move things around and cut things off. Why would they cut off such a small portion at the top? I actually have a couple of theories that I would like to present. If you want more like this, feel free to comment down below, subscribe, the normal YouTube stuff. Well, anyway, let's start by pulling this into the real world. Now, I've set up this map to be as close to Sinnoh as I possibly can. And I mean, you can see it, like, Numero over here, that's Sunny Shore. And then, of course, Asahikawa, Eterna, Sapporo, Jubilife. You can just build it out from there. And of course, some things are squashed and stretched, to make this look better. Because I mean, like, there's the little crest over here that just goes straight into the normal portions, like Veilstone, that has a lot more stretch here in real Hokkaido, to the point where Abashiri is pretty far away from where Veilstone is on the map, despite representing about the same place. And I'm fine with that. But when we look up and get to Hamatonbetsu, that's Snowpoint. And you might see there's not really, in the real world, a big connection over there. Instead, there's a major road and train network going all the way up here to Wakkanai. Now, I went to talk about this because I have actually been there. Back in the spring of 2019, I tried to travel to every island, get to the most north and most south points of the mainland Japan. And well, I will tell you, I actually went to Asahikawa, and I took this amazing train ride up this route, the blue route here, all the way up to Wakkanai. And instead of going into the mountains like you do with Mount Coronet, it just weaves right around. There's this lovely river you can see. I wish I had taken pictures, but it was just fun to just turn on music and watch that come up. Now, moving forward a little bit north, Hamatonbetsu, you see there's not much land that is being cut off here, which is also why it's so baffling. Why cut this off? And on top of that, you can see Wakkanai, its peninsula at the top here, as well as the Soya Peninsula. And honestly, this would have made for an amazing Pokemon location, like especially if they went the Sun and Moon route and just had fun with it. I mean, you see, the city is, especially Wakkanai, is stuck between the ocean and the hills. I'll call them hills, but they're the end of the mountain chain there. You can see by this picture I took while I was there, there's not much room here. However, at the same time, what I was trying to capture with this image originally, back when I took it like 6 years ago, really? Yeah, 6 years ago. There's actually, you can see it a little bit with the land right here. You can actually see the other peninsula from the Wakkanai Peninsula. And there are like little windmills there. And they're known up there for the Soya Peninsula has salt. And like Hokkaido in general, Wakkanai has milk, which can make into cream. Which honestly, best ice cream I had. Soya salt, Wakkanai cream, soft serve. If you ask me the question, sorry to go on a tangent, but if you ask me the question of my favorite ice cream, I would probably give a different answer because this takes too much explaining to go into. But Hokkaido ice cream soft serve is some of the best ice cream. And there, with the local soya salt too. Now, anyway, back to what I was saying. Really, in terms of geography, it would be an amazing location. In terms of culture, in terms of agriculture and things like that, there's a lot they could have done with it. And once again, going back to here, they could have even moved up the lake to represent Lake Onuma. That could have been where Yuxi lived, instead of being at Lake Kucharo. And they could have gone all the way up. But why didn't they? Now, there's one really major point that I think is the most important thing to point out. This here is an image I took of the Gate of Ice and Snow. This gate, well, monument, shall I say, while it would have been an excellent thing to model and an excellent thing to put into the game to have some immersion, it represents something entirely different. Entirely cruel, and maybe something they wouldn't want to put in. You see, Hokkaido is an interesting sort of place in Japan. Like, if you look into the other islands, the mainland islands, you see them split into different prefectures. Like, for example, with real-life Kanto, the Tokyo area, that included Chiba, Kanagawa, Saitama, etc., etc. As well as for Johto included Kyoto, Osaka, Nara, even going alone to Tokushima. And then Kyushu is literally named 9 states. I mean, come on. But Hokkaido, everything north of Aomori is considered part of Hokkaido Prefecture. And in fact, that doesn't just include Hokkaido itself. Looking into the historical aspect, this is what Japan owned for a long time there. There's the Karafuto, half of Sakhalin. I hope I pronounced that Russian right. They owned the Kurils. In fact, going back into history, pulling up this map, I know it's Wikipedia, but this is just a really good map. They owned all of them at one point. Then honestly, what they are, these are actually disputed at this point. This map is a little off. It says 1945. They don't include Kunishir and Ichirup. However, the current claims by Japan pushed through the 1855 treaty here. This is what they still currently claim. However, you'll notice also in this past image, Karafuto. Looking at the real map, it's pulled down, of course, for the Pokemon map. But they owned this entire lower half of the island before the Russians forced them out. And well, does this look familiar? Maybe the post-game area over here? Fight area? Eat Ran? You know? Now, that is actually why I think Wakanai and going all the way up were not included. Because with, of course, the Gate of Ice and Snow, that would have been a really nice inclusion. It's seen in the Pokemon world that the island, the Hokkaido area, or Sinnoh area, did not have that whole Russians forcing them out. You see, when they were originally forced out, I've seen conflicting numbers, but I'm gonna say upwards of 100,000 Japanese, well, now Japanese citizens came up through Wakanai. And that's where they found safety. It is a major part of Wakanai history. And by being clear that Karafuto in this world remained part of the Hokkaido prefecture, so to speak, they wouldn't have the same identity. Honestly. And I know this whole map is crazy. Like, the Elite Four Pokemon League, that's literally on Kunishir. In our world, that's owned, well, disputed with Russia. And Karafuto here, or the fight area, different areas, post-game content, is also in our world owned by Russia. Because they forced the Japanese people out of the island. Or put them in camps. There were a lot put in camps. And that's why I think they cut it off despite being so close to the top. What are you supposed to do with a community who has a huge level of cultural significance on having a significant population being forced out of this, really, what we can call their homes? What would that area look like if that hadn't happened? And I don't think Game Freak wanted to touch that with a 29.5-foot pole. Even though it's weird to just cut off such a small portion and pull down the Rebun Island and Rishiri here in order to fit with the islands they were going to do for Darkrai and Cresselia. Because, you know, if they could have put them normally, if they included this final top portion, I just don't think they were willing to do it at that. I mean, it would have been one thing if we were talking about modern Game Freak, modern Pokemon Company, or even like if they were to use Hokkaido following the same principles as they did for Alola instead of what they did for Gen 4. But I don't think they were willing to push that at that point. And hence, even though this area is still known and has its big road going all the way up that we can see even from zoomed out Google Maps, I don't think they really could have done so without making major assumptions or by not including the post-game content. Either that or moving the post-game content to the Hakodate area. This, oh, what's it doing? This bottom portion here. And honestly, didn't that map look a little weird? I think, at least in terms of the main areas they decided to go with, it makes perfect sense for how they wanted to crop things and the aesthetic they wanted to go for. They just had to struggle with the implications of including the old Karafuto, part of the Hokkaido prefecture, all that time ago, while also considering going to the top and including a city that has a major culture defined by this history of people coming from this island and being forced out. And while it still personally bugs me to have just a little bit cut off the top of the map, after looking into it, I can see why. And honestly, while I hope they can build out a similar city like this one in the future, just clinging to the side of the mountains or hills, and then also clinging to the ocean, but you could also look out and see the huge peninsula on the other side. I think it would look lovely. Well, if you agree with my thoughts, or if you disagree and want to leave a comment below, feel free to. And once again, let me know your thoughts here. Let me know if you want more of my perspective in this angle. And I hope you have a good day.